They know that I'm him, all of this time in the gym. Shots don't never touch the rim. They know that I'm him, got the defense overwhelmed. Do they know highlights of them? They know that I'm him. Don't believe me, check the film. Ayy, any court in any field. Ayy, yeah, I'm Hall of Fame for real. They know that I'm him, all of this time in the gym. Shots don't never touch the rim.
And welcome to the I'm Him Sports podcast. My name is Matthew King, and alongside me is Jake Morris. And today we have a very special guest. So we have JaguarGator9, who is also a good friend of mine from college. His name is Collin. And Collin, it's nice to see you again. It's been a couple years. But Collin has been running a YouTube page called JaguarGator9 for a while now, and I've always loved his videos. I especially love the dumb decisions videos. You did one on John Harbaugh, I think a couple weeks ago. And I wanted to ask you, one of my first questions is, for those videos, what has been the dumbest decision by a head coach so far this season, in your opinion?
Good to be here. I think the dumbest decision, I've got to go with Josh McDaniels. So, for those who don't remember, Steelers-Raiders game, it was back in October, and Josh McDaniels, the Raiders were down by 8 points with 2 minutes left in the contest. And they decided to kick a field goal in the red zone. It's like 4th and 4. And they decided to kick the field goal down by 8 with 2 minutes left. And after the game, Josh McDaniels explained that the reason he did it was because either way, they needed to score twice, which doesn't make any sense because it was an 8-point game. It was a one-possession game. You don't need to do that. The best-case scenario there, if you get the field goal, is that you've got an onside kick, hope for the best, versus just trying to get 4 yards. Like, it made no sense at all. I think that was the dumbest decision by far that a coach has made this season. Although, knowing Mike McCarthy, he's probably got something up in store for the playoffs. Knowing him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely excited to see how Mike McCarthy does in the playoffs this season, especially with his game time management. That has been a huge question with them. But Josh McDaniels definitely probably has made it on there a couple times this season with the amount of dumb decisions he's had. So I want to know a little bit more about your journey as a content creator, just in general. So how'd you get started? What brought you to YouTube? And what really drove you to start your channel?
Yeah, so when it came to doing YouTube, I've always been big on NFL history. I've been posting on like online forums for a while at that point, and when I went to school, I was looking at a career in broadcasting, potentially, but I love doing it. I love doing the broadcasting thing, but it was a lot of nights and weekends and travel. That was the big thing. It was a lot of travel. I didn't like the direction broadcasting was going in terms of virtual broadcasts and whatnot, remote broadcasts from the studio. So I was like, I'm going to go to law school because it's something that a lot of my family members have done. It's something I'm pretty passionate about in terms of I took some classes. I really enjoyed it. So went to law school, but when I went to law school, I was going to Arizona State. I was entirely on an island by myself. None of my family members lived there. I had no friends out there to start. So I would go to class, and then I would come back, and I would have nothing to do. And in college, when I went to class and then came back to my place, I would be researching for the games that I was calling, because I did a lot of research for those games. Right. But in law school, I didn't really have that, and I was basically by myself. So I was like, you know what? There's a lot of YouTubers out there sports-wise. Why don't I just take what I've been doing on like the online forums with NFL history, and why don't I just create a channel off of that, try to do it like a video style, and we see where it goes from there. And it took off as like a hobby on the side. It was something fun to do. It was something to keep me entertained. I got a small following, like about 1,000 subs. And then COVID hit. And then once COVID hit, law school, everything changed. Everything changed once COVID hit. Because now there was nothing to do. I was back living with my parents because there was no reason being out here by myself. And law school was pass-fail. Everything was virtual. And my professor, my property law professor, said it best. He said, "You have to try to fail. If you want to fail, you have to literally try." Like, he's taught for 10 years. He's failed 2 people in his life. One of them wrote nothing on the final. One of them wrote 1 sentence. So,
oh wow,
it was one of those where it was like, okay, I'm not going to say I don't have to try in law school this semester with COVID, but let's try and do this try and really up the content on this channel. And I started posting, instead of like once or twice a week, I started posting once a day, and just made it my mission to do videos however often I could. And eventually gained a following from there. The following grew and grew and grew, and then I kept doing it even when we got back, because I'm kind of like that. It's like once I start, I can't stop something. And once it grew, the following year, by 2021, I was thinking, oh wait, this could actually like be my career. This could actually be my full-time thing. So by summer 2021, I was thinking to myself, okay, this is what I want to do. This is absolutely what I want to do full-time, and I can make a living off this full-time. So finished law school. I got my JD in May of 22. Got my I got my master's in May of 22, and got my JD in December 2022. So it took 7 semesters because I got the JD and the master's at the same time. Usually it takes 6 to get the JD, but 7 if you take the master's at the same time. So I got my master's in sports law and business and my JD. And then the following day after I got my JD, I announced that this is my full-time job. And I was doing it for forever in terms of working and going to class. And it was a lot of all-nighters. It was painful. But I finally, once I graduated, it was like, okay, this is my full-time job. And it's been that way for a year now. And it's been incredible. And I'm so thankful and so lucky to be doing this. And got the studio behind me in the summer of last year. And it's been awesome. It's been awesome.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and obviously you're doing pretty well. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you have 3 channels, and together you're over 60,000 subs now on YouTube.
Yeah, I just added a 4th one. I just added a 4th. So there's one channel I just added called JG9 News, and that is basically a channel where I just get in front of a camera and talk. It's no research, no script writing. I just talk for like 7-8 minutes on any topic that comes up, and we go from there. It's almost like how Tom Grossi does his like NFL news, Packer news videos. It's almost like that. It's a lot. I don't want to say low effort compared to like the NFL history videos where I script write and research, but it takes a lot less time. I can get something down in like 30 minutes on that.
Very good, very good. So I have a question. So I have a little backstory to how I became, unfortunately, a Washington Commanders fan. So how did you become a Jacksonville Jaguars fan?
I like playing life on hard mode.
Yeah, very hard mode.
Yeah, so I grew up in New York, so I never lived in Florida my whole life. I started becoming a football fan right around 2005. The first time I really watched football was the wild card, or the playoffs from the 2004 playoffs. And I saw the Jaguars beat the Steelers on TV. I saw them. It was a bonus coverage game, and it was Rasheed Mathis, pick 6 off Tommy Maddox. And I hated the Steelers just because they beat the Jets in the 2004 playoffs in a heartbreaking game. Absolutely heartbreaking game. But I watched that on TV, and then I watched Jaguars Bengals on Sunday Night Football on ESPN back when we got primetime games. And they won that game. They won that Steelers game. So, you know what? This is my team. This is my team. I knew I never wanted to be a Giants fan or a Jets fan, even though I grew up in New York. Just didn't want to be like that, because I also knew for a while I was not going to live in New York afterwards. I was always drawn to the warm weather. Now I thought I was going to live in Florida when I moved, but obviously stuff changed. I love it out here in Arizona. But I knew I didn't want to be a Giants or a Jets fan. So it was definitely tough to be a Jags fan, not just because of the losing, but also because you're on an island by yourself. There's no one else around you. I was the only person as a Jags fan. So funny story. My senior year of high school, so I had a car, and I did not put my Jaguar decals or stickers on my car because I knew if I ticked off someone, my car is the easiest car in the world to find because I'm the only person who knows who the Jaguars are. Yeah, but that's how I've been a Jags fan. I've been a fan since 2005, and it's been a lot of lows, but some fun highs.
It's definitely starting to turn around now a little bit, but I thought that the Jaguars this season, talking about them now, I thought that maybe this might be the year that they take the next step. They have lost 4 of their last 5. They haven't played particularly well. Why do you think that they've played bad this stretch? Because every time that I watch them, it seems like they have so much talent on offense, So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on why the Jaguars maybe have skidded a little bit the second half of the season.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So you have Trevor Lawrence, who is clearly not fully healthy. He's dealing with the ankle. He's dealing with, the concussion's fine, but he's dealing with the shoulder injury. He's dealing with a lot of stuff. He's a warrior. He's played through a lot this season. He got injured all the way back in week 6 against the Colts. Yeah, week 6 against the Colts. So he's been dealing with a lot of pain, and he doesn't miss starts. The game against Carolina was the first start he's ever missed after 49 straight. So he's not fully healthy. Receivers dropping a lot of passes. There's some miscommunications. I don't like the play calling with Press Taylor. I think he's not a good offensive coordinator. You've got offensive line. The interior is just really bad. We need entirely new interior. Luke Fortner might be the worst center in football. We need a lot of help there. Injuries, but a lot of teams deal with injuries. Brandon McManus, I don't know what happened to him. Now, I think he's turning things around. The Carolina game was pretty good. I think he's turning things around, but he did miss like 5 out of 6 field goals during this slump of ours. And the thing with when we were 8-3, we weren't even playing that great football. We honestly were not playing that great football. We were
I thought so too.
We were having some horrible sacks at the worst possible times, bad play calls. We were surviving these games by the skin of our teeth. We really were. The only good half we played in the first 11 weeks of the season, or first 11 games of the season, when we started 8-3, was the second half against Tennessee. That was the only time we looked really good. Other than that, it's been okay. We won. We played. We did enough to win, but we didn't look that good doing it. And when you play 4 pretty good teams in a row, you're gonna have trouble. Now, I will say this: our schedule has been brutal. I will say our schedule has been absolutely brutal. You look at the teams we played, every team minus Tennessee and Carolina has at least 7 wins right now. We play the AFC North, we play the AFC South, where every team seems to be pretty decent in that. The AFC North obviously is great. The NFC South, they're all competitive minus Carolina. So we played some tough teams. But the skid itself, the manner of it doesn't surprise me. The fact we lost 4 straight does, but the manner in it, because that doesn't surprise me just because we didn't really look good the first half of the season.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that's I was gonna ask you, what do you think is going on with Trevor Lawrence? But you basically just explained it. He's been dealing with injuries. That offensive line has not been playing well. The receivers have been pretty inconsistent as well. But I feel like I'm starting to see people coming for Trevor Lawrence, saying that it's all him. But when you take a step back and take a look around at what's going on with the rest of the team, maybe it's not just him. Maybe the interceptions are up because he's dealing with some stuff. The receivers aren't playing well. Offensive line's not playing well. So I guess I'll move on to what are your thoughts on Doug Pederson this year? Saw you potentially wanted to reset in the Jags organization with the GM and the head coach. Do you think it is a head coaching issue?
I think to some extent, yeah. I think to some extent. Now, it seems crazy to me. It seems crazy. If you told me 2 years ago, after the whole Urban Meyer debacle, look, you're going to hire a head coach, you're going to have a winning record back-to-back years, you might make the playoffs back-to-back years, and you want the head coach gone, I would look at you like you're crazy. I would look at you like you're absolutely crazy. But I look at Doug Pederson, it first off comes down to giving Press Taylor play-calling responsibilities. That was a horrible mistake. A horrible mistake. He is tied to Press Taylor. It was a problem that he had in Philly. He was way too loyal to Press Taylor, and we're seeing why that's a problem, because Press Taylor is not a good offensive coordinator. He abandons the run game at random times. He calls a lot of wide receiver screens, even though we're the worst team in the league at running those screen passes. He calls these random wide receiver reverses for no reason that never work, and that just set us back. It doesn't make any sense. But the thing with Doug Pederson to me is that we had about, I want to say 40 players go from last year to this year. So we had about 40 holdovers on the roster. And when you look at those players, 3 of them have improved. Maybe 4. I'll give you Evan Ingram, I'll give you Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, and Darius Williams. Everyone else has either stayed the same or has gotten worse. So when only 10% of your roster is improving on a year-to-year basis, that's got to be something coaching related. Offensively, there's no one that's improved besides Evan Ingram. But even then, he was playing very well last year. There's no one that's improved on a year-to-year basis offensively. Everyone's gotten worse or stayed the same. And there's definitely been some bad coaching mistakes that Pederson made. We had the awful naked bootleg against Indianapolis, up by 2 scores with 2 minutes left. 3rd down, you're in field goal range. just run the ball up the middle. Instead, you try a naked bootleg with Trevor Lawrence. He gets hurt on that play for no reason. You had the horrible first half inning against Baltimore. I don't even want to focus on that.
I was at that game.
Oh jeez! Oh man! Yeah,
that was my first time ever in Jacksonville. I gotta say though about Jacksonville was the fans. You know, a lot of people talk about the fans in Jacksonville and how they don't show up, and that's why it was half the reason why they didn't have primetime games. But I will say that it was jam packed, and I thought the stadium was really nice too. And I know there's been a lot of criticism about that, but I was super impressed. In all honesty.
Our fans are good. Our fans are really, really good. We need someone to root for. We finally have someone to root for. It's nice. Like Jacksonville, it's a different breed. And the stadium thing, like you also went in December. It's nice in December.
It's
September,
not 10,000 degrees.
You're playing in Swampland, Florida. Oh man, we need shade. We need shade on that thing. Like it's a fine stadium, but we need shade on that thing. And I will say, like, once I went to SoFi, my opinion changed. I went to SoFi for the Jags-Rams game in 2021. Once I went to that, I was always in the camp of, you know what, the Jaguars same, it's fine. Because I've been to M&T, I've been to Gillette, I've been to Bank of America, I've been to MetLife. Like, I've been to those sames. I'm like, you know, our same's fine. Just put a roof on it. We're fine. And then I went to SoFi, and I'm like, never mind. It was immaculate. Like, I want this.
So you were talking about the offense and how they haven't progressed, but one player that was plugged in this year that a lot of people thought would really enhance the offense is Calvin Ridley. Missing Christian Kirk has been an absolute killer for the Jaguars, and there was a lot of criticism about them paying him that amount of money, but it looks like it's paid off. Now, Calvin Ridley is interesting because he's gotten an opportunity to be the wide receiver one with Christian Kirk out, but he's not performing very well. It just seems like he goes ghost. What do you think about the trade looking at it a year later? And do you think that he's going to be a part of the Jaguars going forward?
Yeah, I had no problem with the trade. I mean, we didn't give up a lot. We gave a 5th-round pick, and we'll give a 4th-round pick this year, or a 3rd-round pick if we franchise him, or a 2nd-round pick if we re-sign him. Like honestly, I didn't think that was too bad. The fact is that the Bears give up a 2nd-round pick for Claypool.
Yeah, that was bad.
We're giving up less for that. Like, I have no problem with the trade. Ridley's an interesting case. I don't know what to make of Ridley. Because on one hand, he draws a lot of pass interferences. There are moments where he plays very well. Very, very well. The Buccaneers game, second half of that game, he played very well. The Colts game, he played pretty well. The Bills game, he was or one of the London games. I think it was the Bill. I forget if it was Falcons or Bills. Either way, there was one game that he lit it up. I like him. Again, he hasn't played football in like 2 years before this. But there are still some miscommunication issues. There are some places where he's running the wrong route. He's still probably finishing with over 1,000 yards this year, which I would have gladly taken at the start of the season. I don't know what to make of Ridley. I think we re-sign him. I don't know how. I think we're just going to franchise him and then re-sign him later. Probably give up the 3rd-round pick to Atlanta and then re-sign him. It's really, I don't know how much money he's going to command. Especially because cap space-wise, I thought for sure Cam Robinson was going to be a cap cut. And now you look at how well he's playing, how bad Walker Little's been this year, and how important Cam Robinson is to the team. We've only lost one game with him healthy in the lineup at left tackle. You can't lose him. So that changes things. That changes things a lot. I think Ridley, it's been, if I had to grade it, I'd say like B-, C+. It's not the best, but I still have high hope for Calvin Ridley. Even this year might not be here.
I'm curious about that. You mentioned the trade details of Calvin Ridley. So let's say they franchise him now, and then after the draft in the summer, they sign him to a contract. How does the draft compensation work for Atlanta?
I think it would be a 3rd-round pick.
Oh, really?
After this year, there's nothing. After this upcoming draft, there's nothing. So we could franchise him, and it'd be a 3rd-round pick, and we wouldn't have to give a 2nd-round pick to Atlanta.
Right. But the problem with that would be the cap space, essentially, because it kind of holds you tight with a big cap hit, especially for wide receivers. I think they have a bigger cap hit coming up this year, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah. And on top of that, Josh Allen's a free agent at the end of the season. And he's the biggest guy we have to re-sign. He's playing lights out. he's a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, well, Myles Garrett's going to win, and rightfully so, but Josh Allen's playing his butt off, all-time single-season record in sacks in Jags history. He's playing incredibly well. We can't lose him. So if we had to franchise one of the two, Ridley or Allen, if we can't get to a deal with either of them before free agency, Allen's the one you got to keep. So
Right.
it's going to be interesting to see what we do this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess I just building off the wide receivers, building off Calvin Ridley one. I hated him because it was either he went off and I didn't start him in fantasy, or he didn't do anything and I started him in fantasy. So I felt like he was very hit or miss all year. But I guess building off of that, like you have a solid receiving core. Like a lot of teams in the league would be happy with what you guys have. But do you could you see the Jaguars going after like a true number one receiver in the draft this year? If not, like who do you think you guys are going to target in the first round this year?
Yeah, I don't know about like specific players just yet, but interior of the offensive line has got to be the top priority. The interior, you got no one. Luke Fortner is terrible at center. Brandon Sheriff is getting up there in age, and his run blocking has not been that great. Like we are terrible in short yard situations, and a lot of that's the interior of the offensive line. So I think that's the top priority. The thing at wide receiver is that we're going to draft someone. Because behind our top three, we really don't have anyone. We really don't. So Calvin Ridley, again, question mark. Christian Kirk, I love. There's no complaints with Christian Kirk. But Zay Jones, he's been injury-prone this year, inconsistent in terms of drops, and just he's regressed to some extent, creating separation. He's one of the worst receivers at creating separation. So I think we are going to draft a receiver pretty high in the draft. I'd probably say second or third round, but the top priority is going to be the interior. Definitely the interior of the offensive line.
Right. And I would assume I would personally assume with Jacksonville, I think Trevor Lawrence is extension eligible next season, correct?
Yeah, so Lawrence would be entering his fourth year. So this would be you pick up the fifth-year option, and then you would give him the contract, whatever he wants, in 25. Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know how you feel about this, but do you think maybe Jacksonville, if they don't make the playoffs this year, by chance, do you think that, I know that you've been critical of Doug Pederson, but do you think that they might go all in next year knowing that they have Lawrence on that last fifth-year option deal? Do you think that maybe we'll see a lot of splash plays like Jacksonville has done that in the past? Do you think they'll just push all the cards to the table and say, we got to win the Super Bowl this year? Or do you think that maybe they'll take the approach of saying, we're going to build this thing slowly and see if we can make the playoffs consistently and then hopefully hit on 1 year?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we're just going to take it slow, maybe get a few free agents, but I don't think we're going to make any flash moves. Again, we don't really trade first-round picks. So in terms of trading a guy and giving him a first-round pick, we've never done that before. I think that the thing is that this team feels like they can do it. Trent Baalke, our second-round pick, we drafted a third-string tight end, and our third-round pick, we drafted a third-string running back. Like, we built depth pieces. We didn't build stars. We built depth pieces. Right. I think Trent Baalke views this roster a bit differently than the average fan does in terms of how far away we are from winning the Super Bowl or from being one of those top contenders. So I don't think we're going to make a move. We'll do our usual free agent stuff, but I don't think we're going to make like a Dolphins trading their first round pick for Tyreek Hill or the Rams trading their first round pick for a player. I don't think we're going to do anything like that.
Right. Yeah, I was curious if they would, just because, if Trent Baalke, like you were just talking about, and Doug Pederson, they might feel their seat getting a little warm. So I was wondering if maybe they would just try to go all in and see what they got with Trevor Lawrence, knowing that he's going to take up most of the cap coming up next season. So I wanted to play some Jacksonville Jaguars trivia with you, because you're so really good at knowing NFL history and knowing so much about the Jaguars. So I want to test how good you were with Jacksonville trivia. So me and Jake have some questions. So I'll start it off. Is what other club entered the NFL as an expansion team the same year as the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Oh, that's easy, Carolina. That's easy.
Okay.
Carolina.
No hesitation.
Not even enough.
Next one. In 1996, the Jaguars upset which AFC team in the divisional playoffs to meet the Patriots in the AFC Championship game?
Broncos.
Wow.
Dang.
There's just no hesitation. Hopefully these get harder for you. What was the name of the first stadium the Jaguars called home?
Jacksonville Municipal Stadium.
Oh my God.
I know it used to be. So the funny part about that stadium is that it still is the foundation of the stadium is the Gator Bowl. It's the original Gator Bowl. That's like 100 years old. But yeah, it was Jacksonville Municipal Stadium, then went to Alltel, then back to Jacksonville Municipal, and then Everbank Field, and then TIAA Bank Stadium, and now it's Everbank Stadium. I don't know why I went from field to stadium, but yeah.
I should have went deeper in my bag on these.
No, just to be clear, Matt made these questions, by the way. Just to be clear. But next one. First Jaguars receiver to gain 1,000 yards or more receiving.
I would probably say Jimmy Smith.
There is one more, though. There was 2 in one season.
Oh, yeah, 2 in one season with Keenan McCardle, Thunder and Lightning.
Oh, my Lord.
Thunder and Lightning.
Okay.
I guess just behind me right here.
Yeah. How long did that take you to get all of that memorabilia behind you?
Long time. So once I knew I was going full time, I was okay. I was doing this in my 1-bedroom apartment where I'm working on my 13-inch laptop and on my couch. I'm like, if I'm doing this full time, I need to upgrade. I need to go to a 2-bedroom place, turn one of them into an office. It took a solid 6 months getting all this together and a lot of planning. And the final 2 months living in my 1-bedroom place were a nightmare because there were just boxes on top of boxes.
Yeah, I hope that you're staying there for a while just because it would be a... All right, so I have one more question for you. Which 2 players did the Jacksonville Jaguars cut in 1996 who became superstars for the Green Bay Packers?
Okay, so they cut Andre Rison in the middle of the 96, and Desmond Howard was our kick returner for the beginning, but then he won Super Bowl 31 MVP. So Rison and Howard.
Wow. I thought that one was going to be the hardest one, but once again, no hesitation. So next time that I have you on at some point to talk to Jags, I'm going to make sure that I get some harder questions for you. I'm going to have to find like a 10-string running back from a practice squad, and I need you to name him.
That was a cakewalk. You got to be honest, that was a cakewalk.
All right, so we have one more question before we sign off with you. This is for personal use, not anything about the Jags. But like Jake said, you surpassed 60,000 subscribers now on YouTube. Congratulations. That's such an awesome accomplishment. Any advice for us and any smaller channels for advice on how to grow and maybe just some tips and tricks that you've learned along your process?
Yeah, I would say 2 things. The first is be consistent. I would say YouTube really promotes consistency, so I don't miss days. I mean, I have a lot of fun doing what I do, but I don't really take days off. I really don't take any days off, and it doesn't ever feel like work. But I never take days off. Every day, my audience can expect a video, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern. I think that's helped a lot. But I think the big thing with YouTube or anything in life is that I've carved out a very specific niche in terms of NFL history, talking about stuff that no one else has talked about before, random stuff from the 60s, 70s, 80s, like random stuff from back in the day that no one else has brought up before. There's a lot of sports YouTubers out there. There's a lot of people out there. And you have these people making predictions, talking about stuff that's happening in the NFL. It's going to be very tough to get in terms of if that's what your niche is, because there's so many people doing that already. So I would say find your niche, find what you're really passionate about, and then become the best in the world at it. That's what I would say is figure out what you're really good at, what you're really passionate about, and then become an expert in that area and offer an angle that no one else can offer. Offer something that no one else can do, because there are a lot of people out there that are doing this. What makes you unique? What makes you unique? And if you can find that angle and get people to listen to that, you've got something. And I've been very fortunate that I've been able to get something that way. But I would definitely say that. Be consistent and be unique. And if you do that, you can go places. You can absolutely go places on this.
Well, I appreciate it, Collin. Once again, it was nice chatting with you after not talking for a little bit. And I hope to talk to you more frequently and get your insight on some NFL things, just because I think that you just dive in head first into all of the NFL stuff going on. So once again, you didn't have to do this, but I truly, me and Jake truly appreciate you coming on today. And and I hope that the Jaguars win this Sunday for you and get into the playoffs.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun. Good catching up with you, man. Good catching up.
Yeah, for sure.
They know that I'm him, all of this time in the gym. Shots don't never touch the rim. They know that I'm him, got the defense overwhelmed. There ain't no highlights of them. They know that I'm him, don't believe me, check the film. Ayy, any court in any field. Ayy, yeah, I'm Hall of